The Little Blue River through Fairbury has risen quickly over the last day or so, and by Thursday it could reach flood stage at about 18.5 feet.
Basically all over. The rivers and creeks are bank full, and we're just monitoring them right now. So it's, we're having some street flooding with the heavy rain that we've had this morning, and it's just with the snow melt, it's just going to, everything's soaked up. It's going to take time to run away.
The Turkey Creek at Wilbur and the Big Blue at Beatrice, Creed, and Dorchester are all forecast to be at minor or moderate flood stage by Thursday, and the biggest impact in these areas are being felt on the county roads.
The roads are starting to close, and I foresee if we continue to get what we're getting, that there'll be more county roads that will be impassable.
Several roads in Jefferson and the surrounding counties are being closed due to water running over them, especially in low-lying areas. The gravel roads have been particularly difficult for families who live on them and for the bus drivers who take them to school.
And there's places where there's water coming out of the ditches because of so much snow on the road, and it's just not a very good experience right now out on those roads. I mean, it's about the worst roads I've ever seen since I started bus driving.
DILLER-ODELL has suspended bus service on gravel roads for now, and Friend Public Schools even had a 2-hour late start Wednesday due to road conditions.
I just deem it as too big a risk with getting a bus stuck. The last thing I want to do is have a bus get too close to the side of the road and tip over or just sink. And so more of a safety issue than anything.
Thayer County Road Grader Jay Cranky says the hope is to reshape gravel roads and get them in a drivable state sometime Friday. He says the biggest area of concern is the edges of these roads being washed out.
We start dressing up our bad spots by Friday, yes. If it gets dry enough, we'll start rebuilding some of the roads, and I don't know we'll start putting rock on yet, though. Unless we have real deep ruts or whatnot, we'll fill those in. But other than that, we'll just try to reshape the road again. And
another concern with rural patrons on gravel roads is medical attention and emergency vehicles traveling on near impassable roads. Jefferson County Highway Supervisor Terry Blass says rescue crews will still go where they need to go. He just urges people to use patience and plan ahead.
Be as prepared as you can. You know, it's going to take longer for them to get to these places. Be patient. And, if you see an emergency vehicle, give them room to get around you.
In Fairbury, Tommy Rezac, News Channel, Nebraska. It's a sight all too familiar this week: floodwater. Peru, which is just over a mile west of the Missouri River, is dealing with serious flooding at the levee north and east of town. Evacuations have occurred, and the levee could be overtopped sometime this weekend.
We were just sandbagging to protect our public water system. We had over 160 volunteers from the city and the college.
The Missouri is forecast to crest just under 30 feet by Saturday evening before falling below flood stage sometime Sunday. On Friday, Peru State College sent out a press release asking for help and sandbags. Roughly 120 Peru students and 160 other volunteers responded, with over 8,000 of them.
Filling sandbags, tying sandbags, and transporting them and putting them down in specific places to stop flooding.
There weren't many evacuations, but one man, Jeffrey Bestwick, was forced out of his home on the Peru bottoms. Water seeped into his house and he was worried about his furniture. The Peru State football team caught wind and helped out.
They were helping the City of Peru sandbag. I work for the City of Peru on the maintenance, and I asked them if they'd volunteer a little bit of time to help me move some personal things, and they all volunteered. I think it's real good for all the community to get together like they have today. I mean, it's just been a tremendous turnout. I believe there was 150 volunteers.
I can see the sense of community and sense of family. I like it. Yeah. I like that in a small town because I'm a city boy. Yeah. And the city is like to each his own. Whatever happened.
Where are you from originally?
I'm from Washington, D.C.
Oh, okay, neat. All right. So yeah, like we said, obviously a serious situation here in southeast Nebraska. The good news is that the rain has stopped, as you can obviously tell with it being sunny, but with some ice jams and water just continuing to flow down the Missouri, the flood threat probably won't be over for at least a few days. We could see some problems, at least minor to moderate flooding problems going into next week. The very worst of it probably coming here Friday and Saturday before the river levels start to fall. And yeah, it could be nearly a week before we fall below that flood stage here at the Missouri River. But for now, we'll send it on back to Norfolk at our headquarters here and keep it locked on News Channel Nebraska all weekend for the latest in the flood coverage across the state. Reporting in Peru, Tommy Rezac, News Channel Nebraska.
You needn't go far in eastern Nebraska to find a community displaced or dismayed from recent flooding. Fairbury was mostly unaffected, and that inspired ZANE GRIZZLE to help those in need.
I thought about how the water is like everywhere, and I wondered if it'd get in the pipes, and I asked my mom, and they said, yeah, and I said, oh, so the water's probably contaminated. So I thought about, well, why not just make a flyer, post it around town, have people bring water into the schools, and then I could give it to the people around the county, pretty much wherever in Nebraska they need it the most.
GRIZZLE started a bottled water drive this week to help nearby Peru, which had its water treatment facility compromised by the flooding. At the start of the week, there was only about 3 days worth of water left in Peru's tower.
They only had like 3 days of water left in their water tower. That was a couple days ago, and so they're in big time need. I mean, obviously you got the townspeople of Peru, but you also got the college kids, and trying to keep an institution's doors open with a water shortage is a very tough thing to do. And so we're going to keep getting them as much as we can.
At least 9 businesses in Fairbury donated pallets of water to the cause. By Wednesday morning, the school loaded 350 cases of water that were then taken to Peru.
Honestly, going into it, I didn't think there'd be that much support, but when businesses and people just kept buying pallets and pallets, I thought, man, this is turning out awesome.
Fairbury plans to send another shipment out on Sunday, and they ask that people get their donations in by this Friday. And while helping out always feels good, helping Peru means a little extra to Derek Garfield.
Peru State College had so much to do with where I am as a person right now. I met my wife at Peru State. I have the life that I have right now because of Peru State College. And so an opportunity to give back to an institution that means so much to me, that means the world to me. And my community of Fairbury coming through for my former community of Peru, that's awesome stuff.
From Fairbury, Tommy Rezac, News Channel Nebraska. Few have felt the effects of recent flooding harder than cattle producers.
If you got a cow herd and the water came down through them, you've got problems. Your hay washed away, your grain, your mineral, everything. You'd probably be at wit's end. I don't know what you would do really.
Early estimates put livestock losses in Nebraska from flooding at over $400 million. Some say this could reach $1 billion by the time everything is tallied. Utan, which is just west of the Platte River, received its fair share of flood damage. Mike Heldt lives just outside of there. He says his farmstead missed the flooding by mere inches.
The flood was awful close to us. We sandbagged a river dike to keep the flood off us, and it had been devastating. Now, on the east side of the river, we're on the west side of the river. On the east side of the river, they got wiped out there bad, and it just makes you think that wouldn't have been very good, and you feel sorry for the people that got wiped out. I don't know what you do with your cattle. It's a bad deal.
Heldt saw firsthand how the flooding affected his neighbors and wanted to help out. He reached out to Dennis Hendricks of Beatrice 77 Livestock, a business partner of over 7 years.
This is the thing to do for Nebraska Strong. This is the thing to do for Nebraska Cattlemen, and we're a small part. We're going to collect donations. 100% is going to leave us, go to the Nebraska Cattlemen Association, and go to that disaster fund for Nebraska cattlemen.
The two cattlemen have partnered to organize a rollover auction on Monday, April 1st at the Beatrice 77 sale barn, where the bids on a Black Angus first calf family will go directly toward the Nebraska Cattlemen Disaster Relief Fund.
A small part that we hope that we can be a big part in regards to the help of you and many others that will come on board.
Monday's sale starts at 4 p.m. Hendricks says he wants to drum up as much interest in the auction as possible and hopes to generate as much money as possible to help those who need it.
I hope the envelope's so thick that we got to get another one, okay? That's the only way that I could answer that.
Not only the flood, but the calving season that everybody's been through this year. From the 1st of February, it was record cold with some snow events throughout that time. Then it got to March and it started to rain, and it snowed and rained, and it's just been a tough calving season for everyone in the state of Nebraska.
In Beatrice, Tommy Rezac, News Channel Nebraska.